I wanted to show you how the Sol Ark 15k operates with an old system. And I was able to add batteries and solar panels and also a generator to this system. It is a grid tied system that consists of those inverters there and then comes over here. Now, instead of it feeding the panel directly, it goes into the Sol Ark 15k. The old grid tied system feeds into the Sol Ark 15k right here. You see these two CTs, that actually belongs to the Leviton, but it feeds here and then goes into the Sol Ark 15K. You can actually monitor what is going on with the old grid tie system by pressing the battery icon. And then right here at the bottom, it shows you the voltage and the hertz and also the wattage here. If you go back to the home screen, it does not monitor on the solar panels what you're actually bringing in on the grid tied system. It only monitors the new solar that you would add. And so right now it's only producing 1.23 kilowatts. You can see right here that I have the utility off. If I turn it on, it'll turn green. I have my transfer switch down to my generator because I want to show you how it operates with the generator. If you noticed earlier, the battery percentage was at like 90 something, 91. I had to turn everything off so that the battery would go down because I couldn't get the generator to come on so I could show you what it does. So now what I'm going to do is press the gear, this gear icon here, and go into battery setup and go into charge, and I'm going to bring this up for the generator to start. I'm gonna have it come bring it up to, let's say, we'll say 83%. No, it's 84%. Because right now the batteries are 85%. I also have on this goodness, on this phone. This is the Leviton app, but I also have the battery app for Fortress Power. I just got to reset it, and it's at, the battery's at 82% right now. So I'm going to take the battery up to, let's say, 85% so that I can get the generator to come on and go up to 85% at least. So I'm going to press OK, and that's going to save it. But I also need to go into the limiter, and I already have the time of use off, so that's good. That's okay. I thought I still had it on. And if I go back, we should see, there it is. It just came on. And you can hear the generator on. You see where it says signal on, that wire, this dotted line came on. So now the generator came on. The generator is actually, right now, is coming. I don't know why it's not showing on here, but, oh, you know what, it may have not, not started on here yet. Eventually you'll see the generator come in here and there's going to be green, but it kicked on, and because right now I'm using the battery, but it should start charging the battery. Just give it a few minutes. I may have to come back and show it to you because it's not doing it right now. And I think what's happening is the grid tie system usually shuts down. It usually shuts down when that generator comes on. And it just shut down. You saw, now you just heard the generator kick on. You see where it says warning, grid failed. And on this one it says grid failed, and then the yellow light came on. So that was good. I was able to catch that. Now if I go in here, you can actually see the generator is on the grid section. So now it's actually pushing power down, and it's also pushing power into the battery. You can see that there. The one thing that I didn't show you at the beginning of this video is that you need to make sure that the generator is on the grid section. And I'll just show you right now. If you click here on the gearbox and then on the battery setup, and click on charge, and instead of this being here on the gen charge, it needs to be on the grid charge, because the generator is actually hooked up to the grid, and you want the Sol Ark 15k to recognize that the generator is on the grid, hooked up to the grid. And so you just press OK and then save that, and then go to limiter. These two things you'll have to do. Go to limiter, and I don't think I went to limiter. Yeah, I did. Okay, now just click on other up here. Click on other, and then make sure you click gen connect to grid input. Make sure you click that and press OK, save it, and then it's ready to go. And you can use your generator on the grid input. I'm thinking that this may have to go up to 95% because of the AC coupled setting. Yeah, I know that's kind of, yeah, anyway. I'm gonna go in here and go to smart load, and I think because I have it set at the off at 95%, it might go to 95% instead of the 90%. So it's already at 90 right now. So I'm gonna wait a bit and just let it go ahead and go up to 95%. And I think it'll shut off, but we'll see. It just shut down the generator. And everybody's here. So at 96% it shut it down. So I guess it was supposed to be set at 95%, and once it reached 96%, it shut the generator down. And you can see this icon is still yellow. Now what I want to show you is it's going to turn on the old solar. I'm going to go to battery just to make sure we're still on the AC coupled. It's still on. That's still on. Okay. So now I'm going to go out here because it's going to start sending a signal to turn on the old solar system. And you can see, I'm going to update. Let me push this. It's at 96%. So once it reached 95%, it shut it off. Now, this is still saying missing grid, but eventually the inverter, the Sol Ark 15k is going to start sending a signal to here. And then what it's going to do is do a countdown. And I think it's 250 seconds. So I don't know if it's starting yet, but it'll start saying, instead of saying missing grid, it's going to say connecting or trying to connect or something like that. Okay, I figured out why it is that it's not sending the signal to the old grid-tied solar, the 60 hertz signal. And the reason being is because this battery is at 97%. So if I click this gear icon, go to battery setup, and then go to charge. Go to charge. No, it's not charge. I'm sorry. If I go to smart load, you see where it says 90% and 95%? So at 95%, the grid tied solar will go off. I think that's where it's set at right now with the AC coupled. So if it goes down to 90%, then it'll kick back on. So in order for me to just go ahead and get this to go back down to 60, and you can see where the setting is 62 hertz for it to shut off the grid tied solar. So if I go back here to battery and to the battery settings, you see it's at 62. and I can go and show you how it'll go down to 60 by turning off the AC coupled solar, which is the grid tied solar. If I go here and go to batteries and go back to the smart load, and click off the AC coupled solar and press OK, go back to battery, you see it goes down back down to 60. You see, because now it doesn't see the grid tied solar attached to the Sol Ark 15k. Now I'm going to turn the grid tied solar back on. I'm going to turn it back on, go into battery, and then smart load, then AC coupled, which is the grid tied solar. Press OK. Then I'm going to go back, then press battery, and then you'll see this go back up to turn off the grid tied solar, because it hasn't gone down to 90% in the battery, in the battery percentage hasn't gone down to 90%. But once it goes down to 90%, then the grid tied solar will come on. But just so that we can see what would happen, what I'm going to do is go ahead and turn on the grid from the utility so that you can see it switch back over. Right now, like I said, it's on the generator, and I'm going to switch it back over to the grid. And let's see what happens here. So you see the inverter is at 62 still. You see there? It went to 60. Now, this is the grid, the actual utility producing this signal. And I think this will go back down. I don't know for sure, but I think it'll go back down to 60. But let's go out here and look at what the grid tied solar is doing. And this is what it would do if the Sol Ark 15K was to send this a signal. It's still saying missing grid. But eventually, you'll see on this screen that this 62 should go down to 60. This 62 should go down to 60. I just want to make sure we have the grid tied solar still on. Let's go up here and battery and smart load, and it's still on, so cancel. Oh, you just heard the click? That's it. That's it coming on. Let me see. See it drop down to 60. Now that the inverter is sending a 60 hertz signal to the grid tied solar, you'll see on here, look, you see the yellow light. No, sorry, the yellow light is missing, and it says in range, measuring, RISO, whatever that means. And you'll see 200 and, what is that? So it's 300 seconds. So in 300 seconds, and both of these will say the same thing. And the reason why it's in range is because the 60 hertz, you see 60 hertz on here. It's in range. And this will also say the number of seconds, 263 seconds, 61. But if you go over here, you see the numbers now on this actual, on the grid tied solar's meter. You can see it's on now. It shows you what it's producing, 4.29. So let's go over here. It's still saying it's in range, 59.9 basically. 60 hertz, measuring RISO, whatever. And 223 seconds, 22. So let's go over here to the screen and look down here. So it's only producing 1 watt on the AC coupled, the grid tied solar. Now once those seconds go down to 0, you'll see that this goes up. It won't be 1 watt. And I also checked on the app for for the Leviton. So I just have to reset this. This is from before. I'll reset it. See, it's at 0. At 0, and this is still at 1 watt. And for the AC coupled, okay, it's going up now. It's 3 watts. It's still, yeah. Anyway, it's not going up yet. Let's go see how many seconds it is to go before it actually cuts on. Leviton saying 0. Still saying Rizzo. And 143 seconds, 41 seconds. I'm gonna let it go a little bit and then I'm gonna start recording again. Okay, it's down to 4 seconds. And so you see one, you heard it click on. You heard them click on. So now they should be producing. Look, you see on pin 1, it's saying 1500 kilowatts. You see on pin 1, 17. And now if we go over here, you'll see in this little box, it's producing 4,764 watts. Now remember that this is the only place you're going to see it on the Sol Ark 15k. You can see it on the PV Pro app, but if I go back here, you'll really be able to see it because the new solar that was installed is still around 2.5. That's what it's been the whole time, even when I had the generator running. When you look right here, this is selling back 430 watts to the grid. And there's no longer a square circle around it because the grid is on. Here we're using 1.37, but if you look here, we're sending 5 kilowatts to the battery to charge it. So that where you saw the in this little square, the 4,767 watts. Like I said, it's not showing up on here, but it does show up on where it shows the batteries charging. It's not showing up on the the new solar that was installed, but the grid tied solar. Also, you can see it on the CTs that I installed on here. This is actually where the grid tied solar is coming in. These two CTs are part of this Leviton system. I have a whole home Leviton thing in there. You can't see it because I have to pull off the face of this Leviton panel, but it has an app. You look on there, you see 4,000. This is the solar coming in, 4,573. Let me update it. So I guess that's what it is, 4,573. This is what we're using on the loads, in the loads panel of the Leviton panel. So there's CTs here for the loads coming, the load coming out of here, going into the panel here. That I have 2 CTs that are measuring on, and that's what it is right here. And I have 2 CTs monitoring the solar on the Leviton going on the what do you call it? The old solar system, the old grid tied solar system right here. And if you look here again, 1.23 is what we're using in house, which is the loads, and that's that right there. This won't be the same thing, but it's real close, 1.245. That's what's being used on the loads. The Sol Ark 15k actually monitors the output coming out from the load section, which is here. So these two are going over here and then going through the CTs of the Leviton panel, measuring how much we're actually using in the house. I guess the last thing I'll show you is just showing you what we're selling back 500 watts to the utility. And if you look on the utility side here, Now eventually it's going to get to it, but it's kind of hard to see. It'll get to it. It'll eventually get to it at some point. That's the voltage. And there you go. We also, yeah, 385251. See, that's about the same. And here we're producing, what is that? I can't see it, but it's anyway, it's not showing very well, but 4.83 kilowatts. And that is the grid tied system working with the Sol Ark 15k.